Action is an initiative of Simon Page College of Marketing. This project is designed to bring together marketing professionals from across the continent to share their vast knowledge and experience with other professionals across the continent. I find in my work of running business across Africa that marketing professionals across the continent don't really get to know one another. We also find that marketing professionals move from job and role to role, and they have not had the opportunity to capture or put together any evidence of fantastic work that they have done. This project has been designed, has been put together so that these marketing professionals can capture, put together in form of case studies, interview videos, podcasts, and even articles into one central marketing hub, which we call Marketers in Action. We believe that if this project is successful, that it will provide an opportunity for both faculty and students across our universities in Africa to begin to use our own case studies to educate and inform and train other marketing professionals across the continent. I personally think that it is an absolute travesty that for so many years, for decades of practice in marketing, that we have not been able to capture the essence, the beauty, and all the fantastic results that we have been able to garner as marketing professionals. With this project, we believe that marketing professionals in the Gambia, in Sierra Leone, will learn what other marketers are doing in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ghana, what they are doing, and so we can share our experiences and we can learn from one another. Never in the history of business on the continent of Africa has such a monumental project been undertaken. We are confident that we will get the support of marketing professionals across the continent, together with the corporates as well as agencies, to make these an absolute reality. I am confident that, of course, with the support of our sister company, Simon Page College of Marketing, that has got access to thousands of marketing professionals across the continent, that we can make this a reality. I'm using this opportunity to call on other marketing professionals like ourselves across the continent to share with us in any format that they choose, in videos, in podcasts, and even in articles, their experiences, their successes, and even to some extent, some of the projects that they've worked on that didn't work. We can also learn from some of the things that didn't work. So I'm calling upon everyone, please visit our website, stay with us, it's marketersinaction.com, follow us on Twitter, and follow us on Facebook as well. We're looking forward to hearing from all of you out there in the continent. This is our time to shine. Marketers in Action, sharing Africa's marketing experience with the world.
Coach Timothy Oriedo. I think I've had below 15 years experience in the media marketing industry, pretty much mostly in the sales and advertising departments, where I've been able to manage key accounts from leading corporates. And I've seen the industry evolve right from a space where the radio and televisions are trying to fill in the democratic space, providing information, entertainment to different audiences. That has been evolving over the years, which has seen also my skill and competence change in line with expectations of the market. Just before my current appointment as the head of digital at Rural Media Services, I've been the helm of managing a broadcast division at Nation Media Group, where I engaged a digital transformation process to migrate the traditional radio into digital platforms. Beyond that, which is something that we will be discussing as this webinar goes on, just to see which repertoire of skills that you need and how do you prepare yourself in this new era of big data, because as it says, as the title of the webinar is, how do marketers make precise decisions with the help of data. Yeah, so I'll explain shortly in terms of my professional qualifications and my mathematics degree, how it's helping bridge that gap. And to be honest, I think when I was doing my master's degree, I mean my bachelor's degree in mathematics, I had no idea that I'll end up in marketing. Neither did I know that those mathematical skills will help solve marketing problems. Yeah, so we are in an era where a lot of convergence is happening. We're finding different skill sets sitting at the same table with different expertise. And as you'll see in this presentation, you can tap into the very core of your marketing competence, yeah, by bringing on board any expertise or any experience or any professional knowledge that you have. So as you see, I've got a certified a certification in chartered as a chartered marketer. I've got also 2 postgraduate diplomas in public relations from the ICM in the UK. Recently got certification in big data and analytics from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And beyond that, I'm a certified coach. Yeah, so as you see, it's an interesting mix of skills and competence. And pretty much, just let me talk about coaching a bit, because most of you have interacted with the word digital transformation. What is digital transformation? Digital transformation is engaging with the core of the organization, who are the human resource capacity. Yeah, engaging with them to be able to change their mindsets. Largely, we have 3 elements when you talk about the digital processes. Yeah, so we first of all look at what has been governing this whole era of digital disruptions. Yeah, so the 3 spheres that govern that. So there's been digitization, there's been digital transformation, and then there's been digital reinvention. So digitization always being the very first pillar where most organizations have been engaging, trying to change the different formats of their content, different formats of their products, changing their processes to be on digital platforms. You pretty much experience that in your own environments, where you find your organization, where you are trying to engage with their stakeholders on a digital front. I'm also a columnist with the Business Daily, where I write regularly on issues industry disruption. There's a magazine, The Marketer, which is a local publication here in Kenya, and the CIO Tech magazine, also a local publication. On those 3 platforms, I write on emerging technology and big data. I'm a founder and board director of Translate Africa, an African consulting firm that entails giving organizations turnkey solutions. And then Vault Global, a UK registered marketing and fintech technology firm, where we have a repertoire of different technologies that we have launched in the industry, to give solutions, especially in digital automation. Largely, why am I with Simon Page? I'm an instructor at Simon Page. I can see a number of my students there, Dickens, Johan. I notice your presence in the audience. So I'm happy that you've joined this session. And for those in diaspora, I understand it's midday, also in Nigeria. Namibia, can see Andreas, welcome. Thank you so much for joining this session. And we look forward to having a very informative session. So from an organizational perspective, I think our role as marketers has been to be able to create 2 things. Either you're creating demand for the products, or you're creating you're creating awareness about the products that the organization is. So it could be a product, it could be a service. Yes. So over the years, you've seen most marketers trying to grapple with the different solutions at their disposal. Yeah. So for example, you've got opportunities to engage with research that informs you where exactly you're going to get the research about the products. You're also going to see where you're going to get research about the different market movements and dynamics. We're also seeing an input from the macro environment. Yeah, the macro environment being what actually governs the issues like the GDP, the exchange rate, the inflation, and especially for those ones in the cross-border transactions that become very critical, trying to plan for the markets. Now, my presentation is structured in a way that I'm not going to drill down into the technical details of big data, but I wanted to give you an overview of what big data is, and we'll move into understanding how does that big data, the application of big data in the relevant industries that you are. Yeah, so it will be very granular in its approach, starting from a point of familiarity, what you as marketers interact with on your day-to-day. And then we move to the point of familiarity, where what are the new technologies that the big data promises, what big data brings on the table that is able to bring the solutions that marketers must look out for. Okay. All right, so there are two kinds of external marketing environments, the micro and macro. These environmental factors are beyond the control of marketers, but they still influence the decisions made when creating a strategic marketing plan. Now, you look at the macro environment, for example. That's where you have the tool that we call the pastel playing out, where you have the political environment, the technology environment, legal structures, demography, the economy, cultural forces, and social factors. Yeah. So you look at that data, and then what are the sources of data that we can use to be able to pinpoint the relevant issues affecting our audiences from those facets. So we'll there's that layer that I hope you can now see the slides. Yeah. Yeah, so there's that first layer, the outside layer, which is the macro environment, yeah, that I've just explained using the pastel tool. Then there is a second layer, which is as you move towards the organization, the micro environment. Yeah, those are the key people interacting with the with organizations on a more personal level. So we find suppliers, the public, we got competitors, we got customers, we got distributors and dealers. And then at the very core of it, you have the organization, which has got internal stakeholders, the board, the company, directors, employees. So all these are sources of data. Yeah. So as marketers, how do you extract data from the different environments that exist? What is the essence of you extracting that data? And how does that data help you make good plan decisions? So in the course of this webinar, it's my hope that you'll be able to get 2 or 3 tips on what big data is all about, how it's using to create solutions in the marketing realm, and becoming a very critical representation. And just to give you an overview of, for example, the human capacity, how it's evolving, it's becoming increasingly evident that the current stage of the CEO having to use more and more data. Previously, you might just need to do your own survey, and you realize that a lot of CEOs of most corporates have been coming from a finance background, and pretty much a number of them from a marketing background. But now we are seeing an era where most organizations that are very young having CEOs coming in from an IT or CIO background. So it's my hope that this will be able to start your journey. We're trying to crusade and create a movement around big data, so at least to bring marketers on board from your very own. And I'm sure marketers usually are very observant. You've been able to experience tools and different interventions on your day-to-day that you always wonder what are these the solutions? How do people know about me? And very, very simple things, for example, like the programmatic ad buying solutions that we engage with on Google or Facebook. All those cannot be available if we don't use big data. Big data is embodied in what we call data science, the bigger field that embodies study of data. It's a clear departure from the traditional data. And my point, I want to start by reiterating at that point that big data is not really about figures. Yeah, it's about social physics, observing how people behave. It's about interaction with real tools, behavioral data, and as you see, it's created a new buzzword called metadata. So there is a distinction between data and metadata, where now you find data being the ones and zeros as we know it in traditional formats. It could be volumes, yeah, it could be things created out of interaction with your customers. It could be data created out of the pricing points, numerical from research in terms of consumer consumption trends, and then metadata being an observation around how people behave. Yeah. So I just wanted to use this diagram here to explain what exactly is data science, and as much as possible relate it, number one, to yourself, in what skill sets you possess and what place you play in that value chain. And then secondly, to your businesses and the different levels that your products go through across movement of the value chain. Now, data quality. So the very first basis of our data science is collection of data. Collection of data. That's a very critical point, because data is not just data. Data has to make sense. Depending on how you're collecting that data, who you're collecting it from, it actually determines exactly the end game, how you're going to use it. The most representational facet around data quality is always transactional. So you can view yourself as someone who's a product. You're in the FMCG industry, product distribution. You are distributing products every now and then to retail stores. That transactional data that comes with that is what now defines the type of data. So, for example, the frequency of purchases, volumes of purchases, yeah, those are kind of examples of the data quality. In terms of descriptive statistics, it does now what are the reasons are you seeing around that data? Okay, yeah. So, for example, the size, yeah, of the data that you collected. You can be able to tell the store that purchases the most item. You can be able to tell which consumers have got the most loyalty. You can be able to tell, even give a view of geographical reach of your products, depending on the patterns of the consumption of your products. Yeah. So around that, we are able to identify, factors and causes for the behaviors that we are seeing, and pretty much now the role of data. The data is there are tools which are available to be able to give you diagnostic solutions around that field of the descriptive statistics. When you move ahead now, you start seeing now what you call diagnostics. If you look down now on the horizontal axis, you're able to see that's where the business value is. Data is not just data. Data has to give you some reason for why it is behaving the way it is. And as we remember the previous slide where we looked at the micro and the macro environment, data is all about consumption of it in combined sets. So you combine the micro and the macro environments. Look at what signals you're getting from the macro environment. For example, political situations that most countries operate within. You can look at the GDP, the disposable income of consumers, how that is affecting the micro environment. For example, the stock movements of the stock exchange if your company is listed, or how the budgetary reactions. For example, we had our Kenyan budget released just 2 weeks ago, and of course, there's good indication that there's heavy taxation on alcohol and gaming. Yeah, so the diagnostics around that will be how do you monitor the effects, the impact of a macro decision in the micro environment. That's where the diagnostics come in. Now you see those are data points that if you look at them in isolation, you might end up making a wrong judgment. But then again, with big data, which means you consolidate the different data sets and combine, and you're able to come up with a very clear diagnosis. Now, beyond that now is what we call prediction. So around prediction is where we now have emerging technologies like machine learning algorithms. Machine learning algorithms are basically tools which have been created that can be able to learn certain patterns from existing data sets and extrapolate those patterns into a predictive trend. Yeah. So, for example, an observation around the previous 3 elections that we've had in any country. Any data scientist can use that data to create a model that can predict how products can move around. Yeah, how products can move around depending on what has happened in the past. So it's becoming very increasingly important for marketers. And in the traditional marketing, I remember before this, before I enriched myself with these skills of big data, what we used to do was use rule of thumb. We would estimate, and on any typical marketing plan does have what we call any typical marketing plan does have what we call now the objectives, where you say you want to grow your sales by X percentage points within a certain frame of time. Now you can imagine having such a tool that you don't need to have to do that strategic plan, but it's the dashboard that shows you in real-time simulation that this is how your product is performing, and this current trend line you're experiencing now, this is what will change in future. So those simulations and optimization systems do exist, and with the help of visualizations, they help us understand the patterns. And in terms of our business, it creates a bigger business acumen. Within most organizations, there's a department called business analysts who mostly use SQL databases, and they do a lot of simulations. But all that has been condensed. Now, as a marketer, what is your role to play in this whole area of big data? Yeah. From beyond that, now we move in what we call semantics. Semantics now is the pinnacle of big data. This is where now the observations come in from a sociological perspective, where now as marketers, you've been spending a lot of time in the market, you've been able to observe, does this data that you're observing within the numbers that you're crunching making sense in the real world? Okay, so the best example for this to give is the last year's election, the US election, where almost all opinion polls were showing that yes, yeah, Hillary Clinton was in the lead, but actually what really happened? Yeah, so you can actually see what space that big data can play in that. So you cannot say that you're going to use tools through and through. There is that element where you have to combine, and luckily we now have those tools like text analysis. There's what we call natural language processing. There is actually a tool that's used in data journalism called Quill, and that can actually reverse or write a text out of figures. So what that tool does, for example, is you give it a financial report, and it's able to break down the financial report into a narrative that can be published on your website, or on our website, or on a newspaper. So those are the tools that are available: geospatial analytics, social media analytics, sentiment analysis, images, algorithms are developed for facial recognition. Facebook is taking the lead in that. Every time you post your photo on Facebook, you always notice it trying to give you a prediction that this could be so and so. If you move into a proximity network within any room and connect to a Wi-Fi hotspot, you'll be able to see people, Facebook trying to give you a match and saying, yeah, I think we suspect that you are connected to so and so. Yeah, so that really is the role of programming. Yeah, so now you find that assets lying within organization as a programmers. Now, how do you ensure, especially the challenge being our organizations as we know them mostly operate in silos? How do you create unique experiences? How do you create unique skills around an individual who can run through all this? Now that's the answer. Data science is actually the it. Now within data science, now we find people coming on board from different backgrounds. You'll be able to see exactly how that can happen. I'll show you a slide, the different specializations around data science, and you're placed as marketers within that. Now these solutions actually, remember, we're talking about marketing marketers in action, and it's all about Africa. Yeah, what are these, and what exactly do we see as the biggest driver for data in our continent? So I'll take you through the next slides, which will indicate the vast geography, nascent markets, lack of connectivity, very low regional integration, and lack of trained people and knowledge networks make more nuanced view of our multi-speed Africa more appropriate. Yeah, so we have now, these are the kind of the biggest problems that we have in Africa. Yeah, we as you notice, we skipped a stage. If you compare ourselves, there's slides much later which are showing how the developmental patterns of different continents are. But very specifically, because of our low regional integration and lack of skills, we are finding it could be either an opportunity or a gap, depending on where you are. But I'm happy that you have joined this webinar because you're going to see big data as an opportunity for you to leapfrog some of the advanced views, to create that growth that is required in our continent. So what are some of these considerations for businesses operating or entering the continent? So just looking at, for example, investments, what are these investments that are opening up? So as marketers, you need to be very savvy, understand exactly what is this that I need to invest in as an entity. What is the urban future? Yeah. What is the changing regulatory environment? Are we keeping tab? Yeah. Are we checking on the industrial growth patterns? What are the multi-speed country and regions? Where they, and especially this is cognizance of the fact that our borders are becoming more permeable. You can do transactions across borders. Products are now moving seamlessly along the ports. All those are impacts that we need to be aware as marketers at a macro level. And as I said earlier, big data is about the macro and the micro, and how you understand and interact with each is going to be very important in terms of you appreciating what your data source is. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because it's not just, big data is not just a tool that you go and plug in and start, extracting different sorts of simulations and visualizations. There has to be a certain core quality within you as an individual that you're able to know exactly how are you applying those big data skills. What are the core competencies that you need to have in terms of your preparation, your understanding of the nature of the environment that you're operating in. Other is now sort of limitation that I've seen happening mostly is we are letting the IT team come and do the mining of the data for us, and we're getting different data. Those data actually that don't make the sense as we perceived. Yeah, for example, now just looking at these figures, these are figures that shows the dollar millionaires in the 5 biggest African economies. Yeah, and look at them. I think it shows an appreciation of the fact that the middle class is growing. Yeah, Nigeria has got 80 million middle class. Yeah. South Africa has got 24 million. Angola has got 4 million. Kenya has got 3.4 million. Ethiopia has got 2.4 million. So if you look at that, then you're able to realize that the immense potential of the growth that Africa has. But your role as marketers is to be able to do a prediction. Yeah, trying to be able to create patterns from the current to the future, where you're able to draw the lines and create a good advisory service to your maybe it's your company that you're heading, maybe it's a department that you're leading. So the next set of numbers are 3%, 40%, 70%, 100%. Representative data sets showing the area of sustainable development. And just to show you the details of it, 3% is the impact of climate change in our economy, 40% is the reliance of natural environment, and 70% is the workforce directly related to the natural environment. Yeah, $100 billion US dollars is the amount that is needed for climate change adaptation. And then 694 billion is the amount of funds chasing the green economy. And the reason I'm showing you these numbers is much later in this presentation, though I'm aware the time won't be enough for that, but we'll arrange to have our next presentation. I'll show you an algorithm that I've built using these same equations to be able to create a prediction pattern of how the development trends are for our country, Kenya. Yeah. Now look at that infographic there, and this infographic is representative of the whole value chain of data. Yeah. And I want you to relate to it from your own context. And using the 4V, the 4V is a value description for data. Yeah. So the first thing that big data does is velocity. And by velocity, it means you cannot call it big data unless it's coming in high speed. What is an example of a data that's coming in high speed? Yeah. Yeah. So look at, for example, think about traffic data. Yeah. There could be a camera installed somewhere along a city that's recording all the cars that are passing. So this is real-time data that's coming at a high speed. It has to make impact. For those of you who are sports fans, you've been able to notice a lot of algorithms being built around prediction for game outcomes using, for example, Arsenal. Arsenal is the best example that I can give for this. They actually didn't buy off a big data company and made it part of their team to help them make precise, accurate decisions. And unfortunately, okay, fine, they're not on top of the league, yes, but they do use a lot of data, especially around the team performance, the fitness of their players. There's some combination again with other things like IoT devices installed within the team's kit. They're able to get health data. From those of you who have Fitbit devices, you're able to know exactly what it does, and that data is sent to cloud. Yeah. So when the data is sent to cloud, it's computed. Yeah. When it's computed, after its computation, it can be combined with different data. For example, an insurance company can combine the health data that gets from your Fitbit to come up with a solution like lowering your premium rates because your activity has gone up. So that's the variety that is in that data. Yeah. So big data is not just singularity. It's not observed from a singularity point of view, but the diversity of it. Volume is also another thing. And because of the development that we also experience in terms of cloud computation, it's becoming increasingly more important to mine and extract huge sets of data. The best example I can give for this is now social media, where you can have a platform sitting on Amazon Web Services that's mining data from Facebook users. Now that data that's mined from Facebook users, using now what I mentioned earlier, sentiment, natural language processing, it can do a sentiment analysis to give you a reputation of the organization. So there are tools that exist just from a click of a button. It can give you real-time data. For example, you want to know what is the negative sentiment, what is the sentiment polarity of the organization. You can tell whether people are talking negatively about you or positively. Coming from a media background, we use a lot of that, especially to inform our producers when they're carrying out a news item, so they can see how they can nuance a news item to be able to resonate with the mood on the ground. So that's the volume and the combination with the velocity of it. That's how it's used. Yeah. Now, also what are some of these tools that are now used in big data? Yeah. You've seen now, for example, we've talked about the streaming. We are talking about the storage. Big data has to have some support in terms of infrastructure. So those kind of infrastructures is what brings about the challenges for most organizations to start implementing the big data solutions. But then again, if you look at what value big data adds to the organization, who are the custodians who are supposed to spearhead the adoption of such technologies? If you look at that infographic, you see that place where the big data value chain mine, from finance to procurement, product development, from manufacturing, sales and marketing, distribution, customer experience. How different is it, for example, from a strategic marketing plan? Yeah, we all talk about the 7 Ps. Yeah, so if you can be able to mirror this now into the strategic marketing plan of an organization, now you have to start seeing now the correlation between big data and what marketing value is. So, for example, just using one of the B's about variety. Yeah, from a finance perspective, you're able to check transactional records of how frequently you pay how frequently your consumers pay for their bills. Yeah, from a procurement perspective, you're able to combine that and understand when you order for your raw materials, how long do those raw materials take them to reach the customer. So there are tools which have been developed to help you manage the workflows, and these workflows are very important, especially for marketers. One of the key pillars we look at around customer experience, which is the final one, is enhancing and enriching that value chain through value addition. Now, big data is a tool that actually helps us pinpoint and diagnose where the problem could be in that value chain. Yeah, for example, in product development, and I'd like to take a case in example of a production plant. Yeah, pretty much. I think let me use Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce have got the biggest deployment of big data solutions, and how they do it is they have installed tools within the engines of the planes. Those tools send real-time data to their servers, And then those servers actually give reports on when the engine is supposed to be repaired. If you look at it in terms of a human capacity, how long will it take for an engineer to diagnose a problem? Yeah, that is sent on a real-time basis. Okay, so that's for example, that shows you what value that brings to a customer experience. So for all the plants that have a Rolls-Royce engine, to ensure that there's almost zero risk in terms of failure of the engine, because there is a prediction that's created because of a failure of the engine based on the data that's being collected, and that real-time data is always charged on a second on every second. One of the most recurring example is, for example, Formula One, when you see those motor cars when they're racing, they use what you call telemetry, and the telemetry those cars have got almost 6,000 sensors in the different parts of the car. They're sending real-time data. So you look at that as a production unit. The engineers looking at that data to be able to carry out decisions that are sent back to the drivers, and the fans to be able to experience better experience. Now, sales and marketing, what is your role? Your role is to ensure that you're able to manage the product from the whole value chain to get the customer in the most optimized way. So two things: first, giving feedback to the business in terms of optimization of the resources that the organization is using, and then secondly, customer feedback. Now, what are customers saying about this? Now, you look at the outside layer again, at the macro environment. You are becoming you're becoming now a representative to the organization in terms of collecting that feedback. Now, what tools can you use for collecting feedback? I did mention earlier about what we call the social sentiment analysis, which is a tool that's available, which you don't need to walk from door to door or person to person or ask people to fill survey forms. What that tool does is, using the language, natural language processing, it mines data from Facebook pages and social media pages just at your desktop, and it gives you a report what kind of sentiments and opinions people are having about your product. If you look at that, then it's changing the whole narrative about research, where the data collection has shifted to the desktop. So for that to be successful, there needs to be support. You need to work with the programmers, developers, coders. You need to work with the marketing team to ensure that actually the right questions are being asked, you're mining the right data, and then that data is also being stored in the right way. So that's where the IT comes in. So we'll move to the next slide. I'll have about 10 minutes, then I'll open the floor for questions. Now, in terms of your skill sets, where do you sit? You can see the 4 Venn diagrams, each of them representing a discipline that adds value to the data science study. One is communication. I think it's obvious. Marketers' role is communicate. Yeah, you're communicating to this outside world. You're communicating internally. Yeah, marketers, you also interact with data, statistics. Yeah, you're always being asked how these sales are performing. What are our numbers in terms of consumption of our products? With programming, I think that's where and you can see even there, it's a very thin interaction. We will look at the known as analyst. Between now communication and statistics, you find a very small bit there. So that skill set is very rare. But that's where you find now most marketers need to start enriching the skill in programming. Because one of the things that you need to demystify is that programming is actually becoming more easier to do. The reason being is that most libraries have been developed. You find these solutions sitting somewhere already being packaged. All you need to do is pick, then drop them into a notebook. That notebook has a description of what solution you're trying to solve, and you're able to create that solution even without a key competence in programming. So just to encourage those marketers in the room who wish to go study this, the resources that are available online for free. Actually, you can start studying and just playing around with it. There are two forums. I mean, there are 2 platforms. One is Kaggle, and then the other one is GitHub, that have very nice tools that you can start playing around with. From a programming perspective, the beauty is all those tools are explained. All right. I can see a question coming from Paul. Yes, you want to make a personal request, can this presentation be made available? Yes, it will. The presentation will be made available. Yeah. So looking at the next pillar, which is the business. Within the current organizational setting, it's the accountant who deals with numbers. And remember, I told you before that most CEOs from this era that we are in have been coming from a finance background. That's because it's all about making business sense. Yeah, it's all about making profits. But that is about to move away. Why? Because you're able to have or you're able to crunch this data from different sources. You're able to get specific reasons why a product is not performing, not observing the balance sheet, but by looking at the metadata that's coming from Twitter or Facebook. Yeah, for example, there's a tool which has been created that can predict the performance of a stock exchange just by using by looking at the comments that people are making around that brand. Yeah, you can actually already see the United Airline, the incident they had 2 days ago. It's already affecting their stock, and a lot of from the tool that I have, you can actually go and check and can give you a prediction how further that effect will be aggravated. Now, that actually brings me to the fact that what are those key skills that you need to check out of this? Yeah, so these are where about the interactivity. And we are living in an era where the digital disruption has brought about different interactions in terms of how people view knowledge. I always ask myself, in the future, do we think we'll be taking our kids to school? We have Google and you can ask Google anything. Yeah. So, for example, visualizations. Yeah. You're always required to come up with PowerPoints as a marketer. What I'm gonna guarantee you is in big data, you've got platforms that actually do these visualizations for you. So whether it's unstructured data that you're looking at, I know mostly when we've been preparing for board meetings, we spend a lot of time doing these visualizations, and they're not to the best of our abilities. Since doing this data science, I've been exposed to very modern tools that actually just at the click of a button, it does the simulations and does those solutions visualizations for you. Data mining is one challenge that marketers have had. You've seen yourselves doing focus groups, calling people, paying for people, transport to come to sit somewhere in a room, ask them questions. Now, with big data, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is create what you call a machine learning algorithm, place it to troll the social media, and you're able to extract different results based on the kind of query that you're given, just at the touch of a button. So you can imagine how efficient that is. Look at, for example, artificial intelligence. Yeah, so this is where we're heading in terms of most industries. But how do we tap into that as marketers? Remember, there's a certain basis that this has to sit. Yeah, and that basis is you as an individual. Yeah, what skills do you need to have? What kind of competence do you need to have? What kind of interest? So the most important thing for us to do is have the right attitude, and that right attitude will bring us to see which of these circles you can start playing around with. I think I will stop there. Okay, Mary is asking about the software that can be used for programming. There are very many softwares, but I talked about a platform. There are 2 platforms where you can go and learn for free about programming. One is Kaggle, 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 and then the other one is GitHub. GitHub is GitHub. Yeah, so those are open source platforms. You get free softwares, you get free tutorials, and you can start building stuff out of your interest. And by the way, you even get free data. Yeah, so a lot of people are sharing a lot of information on those platforms. You'll be surprised getting data as local as call records, because I think one of the things we are doing as consumers, we're giving a lot of information about ourselves. I want you to try a tool called Apply Magic Source, applymagicsauce.com. Yeah, applymagicsauce.com is an Ocean-based. Ocean is a psychological profiling tool that was created by Cambridge University. What that tool does, it gives you a profiling about your personality based on 2 parameters. You can either use your Facebook profile, or you can use you can cut and paste you can cut and paste a paragraph. Depending on the language that you're using to write, it can predict what kind of personality you have. Yeah, so those are some of the things that you can just play around with and see where we're headed with this conversation. Okay, so I think I'll open up. We got 10 minutes, and we have a couple of slides remaining. So at this point in time, I'd like to open up the floor for questions. I can see a question there from Andreas. Yeah, he's asking what is the easiest way to collect data. Actually, it actually depends with what kind of data you're looking at. The most easiest data to get is transactional data. All right. Yeah. All right. So Andreas, the transactional data is the most easiest to get, but from organizational perspective, some, depending on the nature of the organization, some departments may not be willing to release to you some data because of confidentiality clauses. That's where big data comes to solve. For example, from a telco cannot give you call records of the calls being done by the people on the network. But now using metadata now is, for example, observing online patterns of people logging in into Google Play Store or logging in into Opera. You can be able to tell the online activity. Yeah. So metadata becomes the most easy data to collect as a data scientist for me, because I'm not going to ask for anyone's, approval to do that. However, and this is answering Amanto Baratedi, your question, what should one be aware of, or rather be careful when incorporating big data into marketing? The biggest thing here is confidentiality. Yeah, confidentiality has to be observed, especially in areas around metadata. You're all aware about the case of WhatsApp being sued for data that found its way to the police tracking criminals. So what WhatsApp did was it defended itself by saying that yes, what we were doing was not collecting data, but we were collecting metadata. So what was this metadata that WhatsApp was collecting? It was collecting, for example, the amount of time you were spending chatting, yeah, the region that you are sending your chats from, the times that you're sending sending your chats. So that becomes now the metadata that we're talking about here. But again, if you look at it, data now becomes the conversation you're having with the other partner on WhatsApp. The content of it, that's the data. But metadata are the other things that I've described. So how are organizations taking care of that? Most of these opt-in platforms, I'll be giving out forms. When you download an app, it comes with a preset conditions. Do you ever read those conditions? So that's where the problem lies. So we are continuously giving out most of our data. The biggest users of it, for example, are financial institutions, which are developing prediction algorithms around now credit scoring. Yeah, most banks now can just tell by looking at your Facebook profile how viable you are for a certain amount of loan. I hope I've been able to answer your matter. Yeah. Okay, Eugene. Okay, so Andres, yeah, I see. Yeah. You can write to me. My email was in the presentation, so once you get it, we can correspond further. Eugene, you're asking how can we utilize social media data to enhance customer service and new product development? And this is a good question, Eugene, and it's very precisely why big data studies are there, because again, one of the things that social media does is give us a lot of insights on consumer trends. So just to be very quick, one of the fastest way you can use social media is collecting data. You can create survey forms about your products, which you can incentivize. Yeah, you can give an incentive, run a video, ask guys to give you feedback on a new product that you're about to launch, and then also using teasing, depending on how creative you can be and what target audience you have. Yeah, so you choose the social media platform that's more relevant to the kind of audience that you have. For example, LinkedIn for B2B, Twitter for more mature audiences, or Snapchat for younger audiences. Yeah, so that actually sort of hope that can be able to answer you within the limited time that we have. but you can write to me. My email will be shared during the slides will be sent to you. Yeah, so there will be a feedback form displayed shortly. Yeah, you can just fill it up, and then yeah, that will be it. Yeah, so it's a bye from me from here. I think I'll wish you a happy Easter holiday, and yeah, thank you, Simon Page, for organizing this forum, and we hope to have you very regularly on the Marketers in Action forum.
Marketers in Action is an initiative of Simon Page College of Marketing. This project is designed to bring together marketing professionals from across the continent to share their vast knowledge and experience with other professionals across the continent. I find in my work of running business across Africa that marketing professionals across the continent don't really get to know one another. We also find that marketing professionals move from job and role to role, and they have not had the opportunity to capture or put together any evidence of fantastic work that they have done. This project has been put together so that these marketing professionals can capture, put together in form of case studies, interview videos, podcasts, and even articles into one central marketing hub, which we call Marketers in Action. We believe that if this project is successful, that it will provide an opportunity for both faculty and students across our universities in Africa to begin to use our own case studies to educate and inform and train other marketing professionals across the continent. I personally think that it is an absolute travesty that for so many years, for decades of practice in marketing, that we have not been able to capture the essence, the beauty, and all the fantastic results that we have been able to garner as marketing professionals. With this project, we believe that marketing professionals in the Gambia, in Sierra Leone, will learn what other marketers are doing in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ghana, what they are doing, and so we can share our experiences and we can learn from one another. Never in the history of business on the continent of Africa has such a monumental project been undertaken. We are confident that we will get the support of marketing professionals across the continent, together with the corporates as well as agencies, to make these an absolute reality. I am confident that, of course, with the support of our sister company, Simon Page College of Marketing, that has God continent, that we can make this a reality. I'm using this opportunity to call on other marketing professionals like ourselves across the continent to share with us in any format that they choose, in videos, in podcasts, and even in articles, their experiences, their successes, and even to some extent, some of the projects that they've worked on that didn't work. We can also learn from some of the things that didn't work. So I'm calling upon everyone, please visit our website, stay with us, it's marketersinaction.com, follow us on Twitter, and follow us on Facebook as well. We're looking forward to hearing from all of you out there in the continent. This is our time to shine. Marketers in Action, sharing Africa's marketing experience with the world.